What does it mean to be divine on earth? What does it mean to be divinity? What does it mean to be a human being who is divine? What does it mean to be spiritual? Are they the same thing? Is being spiritual and being divine the same thing? Let's think about that for a moment. Being divine. What would that mean? If you were literally divine, walking on the earth, what would you do? Okay, you find yourself on this earth, and you are divine. You are observing what's going on in the world. And you're looking at things, and you're looking at what human beings have created, and you're looking at how animals are treated, and you're looking at how children are treated, and you're looking at how humans are treating each other, and you're looking at how humans have created a monetary system that manages who gets what resources when and why. And you're observing the situation, and you notice that there are some people in this world who have lives of great comfort and luxury, and there are a vast majority who don't. And you're looking at the situation, and you notice that children are starving on a daily basis, and that people are being murdered on a daily basis, and that people are spending their lives, every breath, doing things that ultimately, deep down, they would rather not do. And people are ending up getting sick and dying, and people are lonely, and people are committing things like mass murders, like shooting up concerts and movie theaters and blowing up things and running people over with trucks. And you're looking at the animals, and you're looking at how they behave, and you're looking at the trees and the plants, and you're looking at how they behave, and you're looking at the earth and the sun and the stars and the moon, and you're looking at how they behave. And you're looking at all of this, and you're thinking, what seems to be the problem here? Is it the moon? Is it the earth? Is it the plants? Is it the trees? Is it the animals? Or is it human beings? And so if you were on this earth and you were truly divine, which means that you're not controlled by any images that you see, you're not controlled by your impulses, you're not controlled by preferences, you're not controlled by the words of other people, you're not controlled by desire, right? Because people think that being divine means you have no attachments, right? You have no desire, you have no ego. And if you were that type of being and you were on this planet, what would you do? Now, if you had no desire, would you just sit under a tree and meditate all day? Or do you, as a human being, sit under a tree and meditate all day because you have desires and you're trying to get rid of these desires? Are you on a spiritual path because you are divine or because you want to be divine? Would a divine being walk a spiritual path? Or would they only walk a spiritual path to the point where they become divine? Or where they recognize their divinity, or however you want to look at it. What's the purpose of becoming divine? Is it for your own self-interest? Is it for you to feel good only? Meaning, would an actual divine being care about their own self-interest only? Or would they actually embrace the interests of all beings, all parts of existence, all parts of reality? Wouldn't a divine being who recognized themselves as one with everything recognize that all parts of existence are equal, and that all parts of existence are equally valid, and all parts of existence have needs, and all parts of existence will suffer if they don't have those needs met? And wouldn't a divine being who's truly free seek in every moment to do something to improve the balance that exists in this world so that all parts of existence have their needs met, and that all parts of existence are able to express themselves fully according to their design? Wouldn't that be what a divine being would do? Would a divine being spend their entire limited amount of time on earth in a body seeking self-interest only, seeking to make money so that they can survive? Or would a divine being have the self-awareness and the self-honesty to realize that their time on earth is limited by design. You're in a physical body that is going to expire. It's not going to last. It is not, at the moment, part of a system that is supporting it to last forever. Just like when you go to the store and you buy a light bulb, the light bulb doesn't last. It's designed not to. It's not designed to last. Could we design a better light bulb? Probably. But that's not how it's designed at the moment. And the way we operate and act and behave as human beings, because we're always focused so much on the energetic experience within ourselves, which basically extracts and mines energy from the physical body and depletes it and just like ruins it over time. It's kind of like running. It's like my computer. The battery is going out, so I have to always keep it plugged in. So I have to get a new battery, because the way the energy is flowing through it is not effective, and so it burns it out over time. And maybe it's done that way on purpose. Maybe nobody wanted you to be immortal here on earth, because then you would figure out what's going on in this world, and you might actually realize that you are divine and that you actually are free to make choices in the best interest of everyone, and that you might actually at some point realize that the whole purpose of your life is not just to be here and experience your bliss, because your bliss you are defining in a limited manner according to the images that have been programmed into you since birth. So your bliss is not your bliss. You have never questioned your bliss. Let me ask you a question. Where does your bliss come from? Where does your concept of bliss come from? And if you are self-honest, you will realize, and you would admit to yourself at least, that your bliss is something that came to you as a thought or a feeling or an experience, but you didn't sit down and design step by step from the very, very, very beginning in a fully self-aware manner, and especially not from the perspective of how your bliss would impact everyone in a way that would increase the balance of everyone having equal basic needs met, so that everyone could live in harmony and there would be no more fear of competition and no more struggle of survival. Because if your bliss isn't designed in a way that would support that point, then your bliss will only be something that you experience momentarily and briefly in your lifetime. It will be fleeting. And when you get to the end of your life, you better hope that you're right about what you believe happens when you die. And that is why you have faith, because you're hoping that what you believe is going to happen, because what you believe is most likely, I would say categorically, a justification for how you're living your life. That is the purpose of religion. It is to justify how we're living our lives. Now, any religion that exists can be taken and looked at and examined in detail, and within that, most religions can be found a kernel of how to actually live in this world. For example, Christianity. Christianity is a perfect example of a story of divinity here on earth. But look at what that divinity here on earth was doing. Walking around, talking to people, spreading the message of equality, spreading the message of love your neighbor as yourself, spreading the message of treat your neighbor as yourself, do unto another as you would like to be done unto you. That was what Jesus spent his time doing. That's what a divine being would do. He wasn't in it for himself only. But I'm sure Jesus ate. I'm sure Jesus took care of himself. I'm sure he was concerned at a certain level that he was here on earth and able to live and express himself. But when push came to shove, he wasn't going to compromise his integrity and his principles in order to please the powers that be, so to speak. Unfortunately, with Jesus, his group was very small at the time that he was alive, and so he wasn't able to really fully express his message, and his life was cut short. And when you really look at the history of the Christian church and religion and so forth, the institution of the Christian church has really warped and changed the message of Jesus over time to where it's basically unrecognizable in most churches. And I'm not saying there aren't any churches out there that do that, but most of them I mean, how can all of the different, why are there different denominations? Like, why are they necessary? Why isn't a Christian church just talking about the message of Jesus and teaching children how to do it, and then holding the adults accountable for when they don't do it, and having a system of support where everyone in the system grows and is constantly inspiring each other and constantly inspiring others outside of the church to live according to the message of Jesus? But where do you see that happening? So those people who sit and wear, like, yoga pants and purple robes and crystal chakras around their neck and crystal chakras up their chakras, they're and saying that they're divine, they're just faking it. They're just lying. They're not divine, because divinity wouldn't give a shit about how it looks. Divinity would fucking wear whatever it needs to wear. It might wear a suit if it has to wear a suit. It might wear whatever. My point is, it's not going to go to Lululemon and get all loaded up on yoga pants because it believes that that's how it's going to express its freaking divinity. It's not going to put on a white robe and get long hair, because that is an image. That is an image that's used to control and manipulate people, because whoever's doing that knows that that's what people will respond to, or enough people will respond to it that they can get a following, and therefore their survival will be taken care of. That is self-interest. So the question is, how can you participate in the system that we live in, which is a competitive, profit-based system, a money-based system, and still spread the message of equality? Or instead of looking at it as how can you spread a message, how can you participate in this world in a way where you can meet your survival needs, where you recognize that most people are not having their needs met because we live in a system that's preventing that from occurring. So you're not able at the moment to give everyone what they need. You're in a system where you have to firstly get your needs met. Kind of like in a plane, you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you help another person. So the question that I would suggest you consider is, how can you participate in the system in a way where it puts you in a position, either as soon as possible or at some point, because you've worked it out on paper, you can see how you're actually going to go from step 1 to step 2, etc., where you will be able to have some sort of influence in the system at some level, or influence people's lives in some way where it would support them to go further, to really then go and have some effect in the system. Depending on what your skill sets are, depending on what it is you know, and what it is you feel that and see that you're capable of learning and growing into. And within that, I would suggest that you consider the tools that I talk about quite frequently on my Facebook. And if you want to know what those are, just send me a private message. Because there are tools and there are systems that exist in this world that are designed to support individuals who are not in positions of influence and power in the system, to develop themselves into a position where it's not about having power per se, but it's about having influence. It's about having influence. It's about having the ability to influence others and support them to change. But you also have to support yourself to change. You can't just go around trying to spread knowledge and information. You have to change yourself. You have to become a better person. You have to become a person of integrity who, when they say something, they do it. When you have to become a person who, when you speak, other people know and can see the validity of what you're saying, because it's evident in your words and it's evident in your actions. And that doesn't mean you can't play the game, but even within playing the game, it will be evident to those who are actually looking for an answer why you're doing what you're doing. And for those who aren't, what will happen is they'll react. And within their reactions, they will get to face aspects of themselves that they wouldn't have faced without the triggering point of reaction. And then when they face that reaction with themselves, they have an opportunity to now grow and go beyond that limited program that they were reacting to. And if you're a person who's out there triggering people because you've developed yourself to a point where you're no longer trying to gain something from it, you're simply there speaking and supporting, and people are reacting to you because you're actually saying things that are valid in this reality and calling things that we've all taken for granted into question, that will automatically trigger people. The simple resonance of the words that we speak will trigger people into reactions or into considering what you're saying, because very few people are talking about what I'm talking about. And that doesn't make me special. It just makes me one of the few people who's talking about what I'm talking about. And anybody could talk about this. Anybody could take in the point of what I'm sharing, which is not something I figured out on my own, and take in the point of what I'm sharing and consider it and develop it within themselves and apply it and start becoming a person who finds solutions to their own life of how to act in ways that actually support everyone. And so now you have to be really careful within that statement. So I want to give a context to that statement. Going out and, for example, handing out blankets to the homeless who are sleeping on the street at night, although it might make you feel good and it might make them feel good and it might help them for a moment, is not a solution that changes the system anyway, that stops homeless people from existing. And I don't mean stop them from existing. I mean, we live in a system that's producing homelessness, right? By design. The system is designed to do that. So we have to find solutions that would support changes in the system so that it's not necessary to be homeless. That people are not born with environments that cause mental instability or lack of proper education or all number of mental issues that would cause a person to not either want to take responsibility or be able to take responsibility for having a home. But we also live in a system where it's competitive. You have to pay for a home. So doesn't it make sense why people are homeless? Because you have to pay for a home. So if you don't have what, then you won't have a home. Come on, ding, ding, ding. Come on, it's obvious. If you don't have money, you will not have a home. Or if you don't have some way to leverage something, you won't have a home. So the solution for homelessness is not to go give people homes. The solution is to adjust the money system so that everyone has exactly what they need. We can also, within that, on top of that, have a system where people like myself who like to, go kind of above and beyond and stuff, and I think ultimately everyone would like to go above and beyond, but you rarely see that in this system because we're so suppressed. But let's just say hypothetically that there are people who, even if they have their basic needs met, are not interested in, creating stuff and like building stuff and all that thing and all those things. Well, that's fine. We can create a system because we're very creative as human beings. We can create a system where those people can be taken care of and they don't have to go and create a bunch of stuff. We could also create a system where when you're very young, you are in groups together with other young people. You're learning about life. You're being mentored. You're being educated. And you're also working and producing the things that we all need. That's kind of like if you study like how a kibbutz system works, like in Israel. There's lots of creative solutions that we can do in that regard. But the point is, if you are considering the point of how can I actually help people, but you limit yourself to how can I help people in this moment to satisfy some lack right now, but we're not considering the full context of why is that lack being created? How is the system that we live in generating that lack? Because we all know that where your focus goes is what grows, okay? Where your focus is at, what you're focusing on is what grows, whether that's in your personal life or as a whole, in terms of the larger system. So if we, as a human species, as human beings, as a collective, are focusing on a system and on a daily basis that requires everyone to compete for survival or work for their survival, then that is what will grow and that is what will continue. Like, for example, I'm driving right now in my self-driving car, of course, and everyone else is driving in their non-self-driving cars, and they are going somewhere called work, presumably, because they have to go and sit or go and do something that they would rather not do for money. What am I going to do? I'm going to walk with my friend Rocco. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. My point, though, is if you're trying to solve problems in this world and you just limit yourself to, well, I'm just going to give to charities, that's not going to change anything. And you don't even really understand, obviously, how charities really work and what the whole purpose of them is. They're not there to solve problems. That's another discussion. You can research that yourself, but I don't even need to go into that detail right now. You can go look it up. Why are charities not effective solutions to this world? So what would a divine being do? A divine being would sit and look, firstly, at themselves, and look for all the points in where they act and think and feel in ways that are not supportive of themselves to be their very best, to be their fullest expression of who they are, and then how their actions and behaviors, feelings, and thoughts contribute to a world, even in the most subtle of ways, that is not supporting everyone else to be their fullest, best expression. And then that divine being would look at how can they place themselves in this world by doing the things that humans are physically capable of doing. Walking, talking, basically communicating, and then using your hands and physically constructing things and interacting with things, which is still a form of communication. And placing themselves in a position where they can influence others and they can influence the systems that exist, the laws that exist, the economic systems, the education systems, all the systems that rule and govern and guide how resources are distributed. Because if we adjust those systems so that they support everyone to have their basic needs met, the survival pressures in this world will be removed. And you know what that would be like? It would be like everyone is taking ecstasy. That's what it would feel like. Because it would feel like you would have all of the stress that's been piled upon you just instantly go away if you never had to worry about money again. Because what is everybody looking for? Everybody's trying to get residual income. Everybody's trying to get financial freedom. Why? Because then they don't have to focus on getting money anymore. They can just do whatever the fuck they want. That's why you're all looking for it. But the question is, are you looking for it where then you can just be like, I'm good? Because if so, you're going to fucking die someday and you're going to regret that you didn't do more with your life. So if for now you just need to focus on getting the residual and getting yourself to a point where you can have that freedom of not having to focus on money anymore, that's fine. But I would suggest that you consider what I'm saying, because if you don't build yourself in a way where you have enough money that not only do you not have to think about money, but you can then also have the ability to be in a position of influence at some level, or you're doing something now with your time where you're actually influencing people and systems in this world so that they become best for all, then you're going to get very bored with your life. Like you can only travel and relax on a beach so much. The only reason why that is actually interesting or fun is because you're so fucking unhappy with the way your life is right now. You're so not enjoying what you're doing on a daily basis that you feel like you need a vacation. I don't feel like I need vacations anymore. I would rather actually just be with my friends. And if we're going to go be here and go do something fun, or we're going to go somewhere else and do something fun, that's fine. But I see things like going to weekend events and so forth as opportunities to build relationships, not just opportunities to relax. So if I'm going on vacation, I really want to surround myself with other people so we can be masterminding and doing things and talking about what we're doing with our lives and what we're doing for the world and so forth, not just sit on a beach and drink Mai Tais. That to me is boring and a waste of my time. All right, so consider that. What is divinity? And if you're watching this video and you derive benefit from it, or you feel it supports you, fucking share the video. Don't just watch the video and be like, great video, and then be a fucking selfish asshole and not share it with other people. Like, have some balls and share the video so other people can see it too. Okay? Jesus Christ, I shouldn't have to say that. Share the video. I share stuff that I find supportive. Alright? So I'll talk to you later. See ya.